Throughout this training, or at any time you need support, there are many ways to contact us. You can follow us on all major social media platforms or email us directly via our website, or you can click the Cancel Connect icon shown at the bottom of this slide on our website to book a consultation with one of our experts. So let's start with our first proven solution, 5S.
Yeah. That's how everyone's going to go, because everyone's already done 5S, haven't they? Yes, our organization has tried 5S and it didn't work. It's crap because we can't be all, creative and stuff. But that's all bull crap, okay? If you tried 5S and it didn't work, you didn't do it correctly. Okay?
I'm so angry.
I'm not angry, I'm frustrated, because a lot of people come to me and they say, Rian, we've tried 5S, and I go into their workplace and it's a mess. And there's no standard work in place, there's no audits in place, the managers accept the standard that's in place, and to me they have not done they have not done 5S.
So another common thing that we run into is people that say, yeah, but we know where to find everything. This is just how it is. We're happy this way. But if you...
Good on them. What about the rest of the people?
Yes, and if you really think about it and you understand that disorganization does lead to stress and frustration. Clutter, disorganization, missing information, they play a significant role in stress and frustration. A disorganized workspace leaves us feeling anxious and overwhelmed, yet clutter is rarely recognized as a source of stress in our lives.
And by clutter, we mean that a lot of people like clutter around them because they like working like that, because it hides their inefficiencies in their processes.
So there's a lot of different ways that disorganization actually leads to so much stress. It distracts us by drawing our attention away from what our focus should be. That's like what you were just saying.
Yeah.
Constantly signaling our brain that work isn't done.
Work, 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 work. Everyone's running around with a clipboard. Yeah, we're all busy as.
It's more difficult to get in the zone, to get in a role, to relax physically and mentally. And we're never sure what it's going to take to get to the bottom of the pile. So this frustrates us by preventing us from locating what we need to get our hands on quickly. So fortunately, unlike other sources of stress in our lives, clutter is one of the easiest stressors that we actually can fix.
The problem with being surrounded by disorganization in general is that familiarity breeds blindness. It's scientific. Just like when we cook fish, your nose's physical response normalizes the new smells over time. You get used to the fishy smell and your brain learns to ignore it. Then your guests arrive and the only thing they can smell is fish. Overwhelmed by the fishy smell, they can't help but to judge you and your cooking for it. Think about this. How long have you worked in your current work area? How long since you've taken a look at the various places where things get stored? Can you access everything easily, and do you even know what's there? Because if you've forgotten you have something, you might as well not own it. Or hey, go buy another one. Would new people to the work area know where to find things? Where to put things back? How to operate equipment? Or when to take action?
We can all come up with reasons why it's hard to become organized and to stay organized. Some of the reasons that we hear often are, we don't know how. It's not always intuitive. First, we have to clean up, or we don't have the right tools.
How do you know? Because you can't find them.
Most often what we hear is, we're way too busy, or we've done it before, and it doesn't stay that way. But just like with all projects, it's never the perfect time to get organized. There's never a right time. We have to make the time.
5S is based on the idea that to have a productive workplace, it must be a clean, well-organized and well-maintained place. The name of the methodology comes from the 5 words that describe the 5 steps required to optimize a workplace. 5S is simple but powerful. It makes the workplace a better place to be. Make no mistake, we have to learn how to do it. It does not always come naturally, or at least not naturally enough. Implementing the 5S method means cleaning up and organizing the workplace in its existing configuration. It is typically the first lean method that organizations implement, and probably the worst one if they don't follow through with it. This lean method encourages workers to improve their working conditions and helps them to learn to reduce waste as a team.
A typical 5S implementation would result in the organization of tools, materials into labeled and color-coded storage locations, for example, as well as kits that contain just what's needed to perform a task. The 5 S's are sort, shine, set in order, standardize, and sustain. Safety is the honorary 6th S. You'll sometimes see it called 6S instead of 5S to highlight safety. In 5S though, safety is an integral part of each of the 5 S's, which are all focused on efficiency, effectiveness, and safety.
You'll see the first 3 S's, sort, shine, and set in order, are about housekeeping, efficiency, and quality, not about keeping the place clean. The last 2, standardize and sustain, are about creating a culture of discipline to make sure that the first 3 S's don't deteriorate.
Before we start our 5S implementation, we have to identify the process or location for the 5S. It can be a digital or a physical location. We start by defining the start and ending points of the process, or the physical or digital boundaries of a workspace. And once the boundaries are solidified, we identify the process owner, the person who's ultimately responsible for the performance of the area and who has the ability to approve changes.
The first step in 5S is sort. This is about getting rid of those things that we don't need, the unnecessary clutter, and about identifying how often we need access to the things that we do need. The sort step is about finding waste hidden in things like excess tools and equipment, totes, bins and shelves, outdated information like documents, manuals, samples, and unnecessary furniture, carts, desks, chairs, cabinets, not people. In a digital workspace, we are sorting or removing programs, applications and files from your desktop that you simply do not use any longer. Once you take inventory of everything you actually do need, you'll be surprised at what you can get rid of.
Here's a question for you. What's in the box? I don't know. Whatever it is must be really important because we've traveled with it, moved it from house to house to house, and I've stored it every step along the way. Sound familiar? Did you know that companies are using 3 times the space that they used to 50 years ago? And yet we still run out of space to store stuff. Typically, we hold on to unnecessary things because we can. So sorting is important because, first of all, it allows us to utilize our space, time, our resources, energy, and other resources more effectively. It reduces problems and interruptions to our workflow. It improves communication between workers, and it actually improves the productivity and the quality of work.
So how do we sort? Typically we start with a sorting event. A sorting event is not a random event. The timing and team is very carefully planned. The only people who should be working on a 5S in the area are those who work in that area on a regular basis. You'd never go into anyone else's area and do a 5S. That would be a recipe for disaster. Anyone who is participating in the sorting event will be prepared and trained so that they understand the objectives and the process. The idea is that the employees who work in the area participate and go through each item in the area. The workers remove all items not needed for the current process, leaving only the bare essentials. The team asks questions about each item, such as,
What's this? What's it used for? How long has it been there? Why is it full of dust or rust? When is the last time anyone opened it or used it? How about you? Where is it used? Where does it get used the most? How is it used? Why is it here? Whether physical or virtual, a holding area, often called a red tag holding area, needs to be established to hold on to these items that are identified as potentially redundant or unnecessary until a final decision has been made within a specified time frame. The red tag area will have an owner who's responsible for emptying it after a decided due date. The time in between is used for other workers to verify that the red tag area items are no longer used or needed. These items will be disposed of in some way, sold, given away, thrown away, or deleted.
So the term red tag comes from the traditional lean method that incorporates the use of a physical paper red tag to clearly identify those items in question. The items are either moved to the holding area, or if they are too big to move, they get a red tag put onto them. You'll see that there is some basic info on the tag about the item. Alternatively, some organizations use a can of red spray paint to mark redundant items that are too large to move to the holding area. In a digital workspace, we can create a file to hold documents or apps that can potentially be deleted.
The essential part of the sort phase is that there must be an action plan. For items that have been put in a holding area or red tagged, there must be a plan to make a final decision about its disposition, and then to take action necessary to remove it. Way too often during this phase, items are sorted out and then they remain indefinitely in another area. Effectively, we've just moved the waste. We haven't really eliminated it.
Here's a general guide for what to do with items based upon how often it's used. In the sorting step, we are focused on those items that are never used. If it's never used, it can be deleted, given away or thrown away, even sold for a beer fund. The remainder of the dispositions depend upon how often it's used. The more frequently that it's used, the closer it needs to be to the user. And determining the best location for these items will be addressed in the third step when we set an order. The sort and set an order step are very closely related. In the sort step, we are evaluating the need for each item, and in the set an order step, we'll decide the best place to keep the item.
In your cancelled templates, you have a one-page job aid to help you through the sort event. The job aid includes the purpose of the sort step, the actions or the highlights of this step, and the resources that you'll need. There's also a checklist to make sure that the step is done properly. This job aid can be a huge help when you're engaging a team of workers who are not necessarily familiar with continuous improvement or 5S. It makes the step very clear so that everyone can effectively participate. The shine stage of 5S focuses on cleaning the work area and preventing any type of dirt or debris from entering the area in the first place. We do this through identifying sources of contamination and then minimizing or eliminating these through good problem solving. In a physical area, shining or cleaning also means restoring. That means getting equipment back to its former glory by cleaning and in some cases repainting it. When in the shine phase, ensure this is also a planned event. Ensure we supply the teams with the necessary cleaning equipment and time, ways and means to do the job to the best of our abilities. Once shine is done, it's now up to the team to implement cleaning schedules, a cleaning roster, and initiate specific times and intervals to maintain this new standard of cleanliness.
Shine also involves initiating and performing regular planned maintenance on equipment and machinery that was previously neglected and allowed to become dirty and run down. Cleaning with purpose. Why, you'd ask? Well, it's like washing your own car. When you wash it yourself, you will notice the state of the tires, perhaps an oil leak depending on what type of car you drive, or even some new scratches. Now that you're aware of this, you can do something about it. Same goes for cleaning equipment. I was once involved in a 5S on a bottle filler, and after cleaning it, it basically fell apart. The technicians still believe that the dirt was the only thing holding it together. Well, it got fixed and actually ran so much better afterwards. In a digital space, shine means keeping your computer drive and desktop clean and tidy. Turn off all those notifications you get from Facebook, Twitter, news feeds, your personal inbox, and so on.
So why is cleanliness important in our workplace? Because our workplace is where we spend 1/3 of our lives.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. For some people, keeping things neat and tidy is a real challenge, and for others, it comes naturally. For every messy person in the world, there's someone who thrives on keeping things orderly and clean. So when it comes to running a highly efficient and effective process, isn't there room for both personality types?
No,
There's not. The answer is no. Cleanliness is more than something to aim for. Keeping a clean workspace not only saves time and costs, but also protects our health and well-being. A clean and efficiently run work area improves the quality of work and makes for happier and more productive employees.
when was the last time you needed all that grime and dust? How helpful is that keyboard with the crumbs between the keys? You saving that for later? Did you know that the typical office desk is home to more than 10 million bacteria? That's 400 times more than a toilet seat. Oh.
This is a gross section.
It is. Beyond the health concerns, this has an impact on our mental state too. Humans have a built-in disgust response to dirty environments. A clean workplace has also been shown to reduce sick days and increase productivity. People attending work while sick adds to the spread of disease and costs billions of dollars each year through lost productivity.
We're actually not as clean as we might think. American researchers conducting a 13-month study found 4,800 surfaces in office buildings were officially dirty. Taps, microwaves, computer keyboards, and fridge doors were the dirtiest surfaces. This is especially of concern given the rise of open plan and shared desk workplaces. Workers in open plan spaces have a 62% higher incidence of sickness than those in private or shared cellular offices. Etiquette in shared desk workplaces requires employees to clean down their workstation and equipment when they finish using it. However, less than half of employees actually comply.
That's no surprise. So the objective of the shine step is to make sure that the work area is free of debris. All areas in need of cleaning are exposed and we keep everything clean every single day. This allows us to turn the workplace into a clean, bright place where everyone will enjoy working and to keep things ready to be used where needed. An unclean atmosphere that leads to poor morale and ineffective work is also a place where defects are less obvious. And equipment or tools that do not receive sufficient maintenance tend to break down and cause defects and delays.
So how do we shine? How is it done? We look over.
Ask the cleaning crew.
We look over, under, above every area to find hidden dirt and debris and the sources of contamination, the root cause of why the area gets dirty. In the shine step, the team determines how a shine schedule should be done and how to prevent the spread of dirt by making sure it doesn't enter the work area in the first place.
The idea is to identify small problems early on, so we minimize the amount of time that we have to clean. Each area and each piece of equipment should be equipped with adequate cleaning supplies. Shine should not be left for a cleaning crew. We should treat cleaning as an inspection process and use it to identify any, even tiny, abnormal or unacceptable conditions. The goal is to find ways to keep the workplace clean by eliminating sources of dirt as early as possible. You work in the area. It's not the cleaning crew's responsibility to ensure your area is at standard. It is also a source of pride and sometimes a bit of friendly competition between teams, where incentives can be offered to teams and individuals who outperform others.
And just like with the sort step, we have a one-page job aid to help you and your team through the shine step. The purpose, The action highlights and the resources needed for this step are at the top, and at the bottom portion, we provide a checklist and tips for this phase.
Set in order is the step where we identify as a team what and how much belongs where, so that everyone has the tools and information easily accessible and ready to go when they need them. This step is a big deal. It's a way for the team to start a positive cultural shift to create deliberate ways of working and the discipline to own those changes and create momentum that will drive positive change in the workplace.
So we've sorted out the things that are not needed, and we've cleaned everything that will remain. Now it's time to assign a place for all those programs, applications, files, and tools or equipment that we use on a regular basis. Files are organized by subject, department, project, or date, and tools and physical equipment or supplies are organized by how often it's needed and how accessible it needs to be.
For example, when you're driving your car, you know it's time to refill your gas tank when it reaches a certain point. You get a little warning light that it's time to refuel. Your gas tank has the recommended amount of gas on hand. Most people don't keep excess gasoline containers, or not that I know of, excess gasoline containers stored in the trunk of their cars, unless you're going out in the desert, I suppose. That's a big part of the step, to evaluate not only what needs to be where, but how much. So if we work at a hospital, we'd have to determine where do we need IV stands. How many needs to be there? Does each bed need an IV stand? What about specialized cardiac monitors? Where do these belong? How often are they used and where?
Supply rooms are a great way to relate to the importance of this step in 5S. For those items that we don't need regularly at every individual workspace, a supply room is there as a shared resource, but that only works if what we need is there when we need it. And many times this is not the case. More often than not, supply rooms get raided and people hoard the supplies because they've learned that they can't trust the supplies to be there when they need them.
What a shame.
Take a look at this series of numbers, and let's see how long it takes you to find the missing numbers. Start now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 seconds. Keep going. And 10 seconds. Find the missing numbers yet? Let's set our numbers in order and see how long it takes to identify the missing numbers.
Now let's try again. And in less than a second, you identified that 13 and 30 are missing. The importance of setting in order is that we can find what we need and we can tell when something is wrong or when something is missing.
Think about setting an order in everyday life. When you go to the grocery store, you don't have to ask questions to find out what to do with your car. You don't need to ask for help to determine how close it should be to the other cars. It's obvious and orderly, and you can clearly see where there's an open space.
And people have been trained over the years. Now here's another example, pretty gruesome. It's a view from inside a prisoner's cell of the famous prison Alcatraz. What are the advantages of this tool called a shadow board? With things set in order, you know where to put things back, and more importantly, know when something is missing, like a big-ass knife.
In this phase, we arrange needed items so that they're easy to use. Items are organized or labeled so that anyone can find them and put them away. It's all about that saying, a place for everything and everything in its place. The basic focus of this part of 5S is to create effective and efficient storage systems so that anyone can find the tools, materials, supplies, and information that they need, and anyone can return those things to their proper storage locations. What is needed in the place it's needed when it's needed.
A variety of names have been used for this step of 5S. These names include systematic organization, systematize, straightening out, or simplify. Just depends on which company you work with. This step could also just be called put away. Put things away in a logical storage location that makes commonly used tools and materials convenient and easy to access. Everything should have a purpose for being where it is, and in the right amounts it is needed in. Setting our minimum and maximum limits and levels of stocks is very important too. For example, there's no point in having 3 staplers on one desk. Have one if you need it often, but put it away in a stationery cupboard if you don't use it that often.
And nothing should seem out of place. Why is this important? This step is the foundation of standardization. It eliminates difficulty finding and putting things away. It improves morale by removing obstacles to productivity, inconsistency, poor quality, and inefficiency.
When determining where things go, it's a great idea to focus on minimizing motion and transportation. Additional steps are great for our health, but let's save those extra steps for our free time. At work, excess steps are frustrating and inefficient. Some of the tools that we can use in this phase is a spaghetti map or spaghetti diagram to document the flow, and we can use a pedometer or a tape measure to measure and then minimize distance and motion.
Floors become more important in the set and order step as well. In a visual workplace, floors don't exist simply to walk on or to hold things up. They function, showing us where it's safe to walk, where materials are, and where we're supposed to work. Every section of the floor, every bench, work surface, hand tool, part, machine, rack, cabinet, bin, can be equipped to make a contribution to a greater purpose that's beyond its main use. Because now, that item can visually communicate vital information to anyone and everyone who needs it as they need it. There are no exceptions. We can ask questions such as, where would visual answers be useful? How can we make work visible? How can we make problems visible?
Another example there, Claire, is in IKEA, where you've got the lights that shows you the arrows where to walk.
Oh yeah.
And it's a pretty simple idea. If you want to change it, it's easy to change and you don't have to go and paint it.
But everyone relies on it.
Yep.
Beautiful use of the floor.
Our goal is to make work visible and to make problems visible. We can use storage locations, solutions like cabinets, shelves, and labels to make items easy to get and easy to put away. The idea is to go from hiding to exposing. Use open shelving where possible. If you must use closed storage, please place a photo on what's in there on the outside of the container, so it's not hidden, and make sure you audit it as often as possible. Or even better, take the doors off the cupboard so we can see what we have. In this example here, everything looks nice and tidy, but we have no idea what's in the different storage containers. And in this type of setup, we can expect that those drawers and boxes will become junk catchers. Anyone looking for something will have to guess and hunt to find out where things are, except for the guy that packed it in there, obviously.
Stop whatever you're doing and freeze. Now, evaluate your body. Does anything, maybe your neck, your back, feel achy? How's your posture? And your wrists and fingers? Are they okay after sitting at your desk watching this long video? Utilizing basic ergonomic guidelines can help when setting up a workspace. Most organizations have guidelines for employee health and safety, and these guidelines typically include ergonomics. Deciding where things belong should also account for health, safety, and comfort.
And organizing items for ease of use is not a one-time activity. Set does not mean set and forget. Item locations will likely be reset from time to time as employees exercise the new setup. This is not a problem, but an example of continuous learning and improvement. If items are set and then are discovered to be in the wrong place, there must be an ongoing correction process, or employees will become disengaged and buy-in will be lost. It's not cast in stone.
Set in order is also an opportunity for us to go from each to their own, to community shared spaces. Don't hoard your sticky notes in fear that someone else might steal them. Rather, have a communal system in place that gets replenished when minimum stock levels are reached, maintained by the office manager or someone who wants to take on this responsibility. Sharing is caring.
That's what Barney says. And voila! To guide you through this step, here's your set in order job aid. It has two parts, you'll see. One for planning and one for implementation. First, we plan it. We use a spaghetti diagram, measuring tape, pedometer, and we identify proper locations based on how frequently an item is used. We locate tools and materials that are used frequently right next to the work area. We make work and problems visible, and we utilize storage solutions, cabinets, walls, and labels, or naming and filing conventions to make it obvious where things can be found and put away.